Namaskara and welcome to A Village Story. One woman's journey from city chaos to village calm. I am Akshita and this podcast is my journey from the noise of the city to the stillness of the soil. So grab a cup of chai, settle in and let's begin. The decision to move was made. The initial discomfort of adjusting had passed, and it was now time to find my rhythm. And so I began to settle in. City life had always been a high-speed video. Alarm blaring, me tumbling out of bed, running through a perfectly choreographed routine, quick shower, formal clothes, breakfast gulp down, rush to the office, survive the day, come home, binge sitcoms, shovel down dinner, sleep, and repeat. The village though, oh, it had a whole other algorithm. Wake up early, not because of alarms, but because a rooster yelled directly into my soul. Move slow, no schedules. Cook with my mother-in-law, stroll to the farm, work with other women, tend to the cow, then flop under a mango tree to chat about life until someone remembers we were supposed to be working. Here, nothing is urgent. My city brain hated it at first. Twitchy, restless, waiting for someone to hand me a to-do list. But over 7 years, the restlessness dissolved. Now I am the person who says, it will get done eventually, and actually means it. Living in a village means weekdays and weekends are basically the same thing, except Sundays are busier with the Sante, local market day. Nobody here checks if you're free before showing up. They just appear, like surprise pop-up ads, except instead of asking you to buy insurance, they want tea. It took me years to rewire my city-trained brain to accept this. But there's one incident I remember crystal clear. We were making akki rotis in the morning. I was still in my learning to pat them phase. We had a plan. Eat quickly, then plant fruit saplings on the farm. Now, if you recall, men here don't exactly leap into household chores like it's a team sport. My husband had just woken up and was perfecting the art of doing absolutely nothing in the veranda when his friend waltzed in at 8:30 on a weekday. The two of them instantly launched into deep intellectual conversations about the politics of the land, the weather, and probably who gave the last alcohol party. More on the alcohol addiction later. Naturally, tea had to be served. And since it was breakfast time, breakfast had to be served too. Meanwhile, I was in the kitchen, internally combusting. I kept muttering, who just walks in at 8:30 on a weekday? Don't they have jobs? Or at least somewhere else to be? But my irritation mattered to absolutely no one. My mother-in-law did not even flinch at having to make tea all over again or pat out 2 extra rotis. In fact, she looked positively thrilled that there was someone new to chat with. I was fuming. And this attitude, it's everywhere. Take the time we asked the tractor fellow to plow our land one afternoon. He agreed, confirmed, and we even shuffled around our plans to make sure we would be there. Noon came, we sat, we waited. No tractor. Our calls went unanswered. Finally, on the 5th attempt, he picked up, only to casually inform us that he had a non-vegetarian lunch to attend. He had completely forgotten about our job. No regrets, no apology, nothing. Just click. I turned to my husband, ready to start a joint outrage party. But he looked completely unbothered, as if tractor no-shows were a normal event. He just shrugged, told me to get used to it, and said, "This is now a part of your life." The stubborn young achiever in me refused to surrender. If anything, all this casual, no deadlines lifestyle made me even more determined to prove my point. That planning, discipline, and sticking to schedules were superior. So I went all in. I designed a timeline, marched around like a field marshal, and burned myself out making sure one patch of ragi was sown exactly when I said it should be. I was convinced the harvest would stand as a glittering monument to my methods. But the universe had other plans, or rather, no rains. Days went by, clouds ghosted us completely, and my perfectly scheduled ragi never even sprouted. My husband, of course, transformed into some kind of village philosopher overnight. Sitting there like a know-it-all sage, he gently reminded me, with the satisfaction of someone who had been waiting for this moment, that sometimes you can't force things. You have to respect the flow of the universe. And I had to admit, in that round, the universe won. Though I might sound comical now, there were days I cried with pure frustration. The pain was real. When plans crumbled, when nothing made sense, when it felt like the entire universe had decided to flex its muscles just to show me who's boss, I shrank. I felt small, meek, and like an utter failure. I had arrived here with grand cinematic dreams, becoming a successful farmer whose story would travel far and wide, inspiring starry-eyed city youngsters to visit my farm. I imagined the land minting money for me. Alas, I turned out to be the Vinod Kambli of farming. Big dreams, perfect plans, and then life bowled me a googly. The universe had a different curriculum for me. It taught me to put people above schedules, to fail without falling apart, to live happily even when my pockets were empty, and to cook in a kitchen where the grocery was rationed. And strangely, once I stopped fighting it, life got lighter. Somewhere along the way, I began enjoying those random drop-ins. Instead of fuming, I would grab my cup of tea, settle cross-legged on the floor, and dive headfirst into the chatter. These unplanned conversations have brought me a kind of joy and laughter that no meticulously planned day ever could. I started listening to the land, really listening. I asked her to guide me, to show me her ways. I let her teach me. Slowly, I became her student, watching, observing, breathing with her rhythm. Over time, this relationship became my greatest education. She taught me lessons no book could hold. Lessons of love, of patience, of pain, and of bliss. Even when my kitchen shelves looked bare, even when the grocery felt rationed, the land showed me what true abundance really means. One monsoon, we couldn't get our land ready in time for sowing. The season slipped away, and we stood there with nothing. No crop, no harvest, no grand plans to show for the year. I was crushed, sad that the land wouldn't give us a thing that season. That is when Gowramma, the lady who works on our land and my personal guru in all things rural, stepped in. Without a word, she tightened her sari pallu, opened it up like a basket, and marched straight into the fields, beckoning me to follow. Together, we wandered through the wet, green chaos as she pointed out plant after plant, plucking wild greens I had never noticed before. By the time we came back, her pallu was bulging with what looked like a zillion varieties of leaves. Back in the kitchen, she worked her magic and taught me to make the yummiest Bassaaru, that earthy, soulful Karnataka delicacy. And just like that, a season that had felt like failure turned into a lesson in abundance I'll never forget. And that is when it clicked. Even when my kitchen shelves looked bare, the land was never truly empty. She was just waiting for me to notice. That year, I learned the biggest lesson Gowramma and the fields could teach me. Abundance is not always in harvest. Sometimes it is in the hands that teach you, the conversations that surprise you, and the wild greens that grow when nothing else does. Along with the wild greens, Gowramma and her gang of ladies became my biggest support system. My go-to friends, my anchors in this new life. Over the years, our bond has deepened so much that I can't imagine my journey here without them. When they come to work, I make it a point to join them during their breaks. We squat down under the shade of a tree, the afternoon breeze carrying the scent of damp earth. And that is when Gowramma taught me her favorite ritual, the art of betel leaf. 2 fresh leaves, a smear of sunna, a sprinkle of areca nut, a pinch of sugar, fold it up and pop it in. We chat, laugh, and share stories while the sharp, sweet betel juice runs down my throat. Somewhere along the way, I became a betel leaf person. And in rural gatherings, that is like a secret handshake. A little green ticket to instant friendship with women everywhere. And maybe that is the biggest lesson the land and Gowramma have given me. That friendship, like farming, grows best when you share what is in your pallu. Whether it is wild greens, laughter, or a simple betel leaf. So here I am, once a city girl with big plans, now a betel leaf chewing, wild green hunting farmhand. If you told me this a few years ago, I would have laughed. But today, I would probably just offer you a Bassaaru and a betel leaf instead. Before I sign off, I want to leave with a small tip. When the rains of life wash out all your grand plans, don't sulk. Instead, find your Gowramma, spread the pallu, and see what life is hiding for you. Because even when you think you have nothing, you might just come home with a feast. Sometimes the most valuable harvest isn't in the grain or the fruit. It is in the laughter under a mango tree, the surprise of a wild green in your hand, and the quiet knowledge that life always gives, just not always in the way you expect. If you are going through your own season of failures, I hope you find your Gowramma who will show you abundance in failures too. Thank you for walking this journey with me, for listening, feeling, and holding space for this story. In the next episode, I will share about how basic conveniences of the city become rare luxuries of the village. If this episode spoke to you, I would love to hear your thoughts. Please drop a comment. Until then, keep breathing through your own seasons of change. Namaste and take care.